Travis said, Dave said that all other quarterback play in the SEC was bad in 98. Before we get to a couple of topics was it bad in 98 other than maybe Florida, which wasn't great against you guys?
I'm simply trying to figure out who we play. Actually, no. Clint Sterner had a really good year.
Yes, Sterner had a good year.
He had 2 receivers that one went for over 1,000, the other one for about 900. Then you have Quincy Carter didn't do so bad.
Yeah,
That's been pretty good himself.
He did bad against you guys.
He did do bad against us. I mean, then you had Tim Couch. Tim Couch lit it up, even though he was on Kentucky's football team, but he did light it up.
Yeah. Another question for Fred before we get to some topics that I want to get to. How did Georgia's defense hold Tennessee to 13 but allow Ohio State to walk all over them? Break it down, Fred.
I'll tell you one thing. Here's the difference between the two. When we played Georgia in a hostile environment in Georgia, where the crowd was all Georgia except for maybe 20% Tennessee fans. The crowd noise got to us. I will say also, our offensive line and Ohio State's offensive line were completely different. I think Ohio State's offensive line was really good, as you can tell from having 2 first-round draft picks in the offensive line position. So they had a little bit more firepower to be able to handle the rush from Georgia as well. Receivers were about the same. I'm not going to sit here and tell you no lie that Marvin Harrison Jr. is one of the best. If he don't win the Biletnikoff Award next year, something's wrong because he's amazing. And they had a receiver on that same team that went in the second round. So they had a really good football team, but they also played in a neutral place. So when it comes to the trenches, I think Ohio State's offensive line was a little bit better than ours. I'm not taking anything away from our offensive line, but you had 2 first-round draft picks on that offensive line and a third-round draft pick on the same offensive line. So they did have an offensive line that could get some things done. They just found ways to beat, to pick the holes in Georgia's defense as well. Something that we tried to do, I don't think we could do at the time.
Yeah. Fred, let's change gears a little bit, talk about this year's team. Somebody said something to me that reminded me of what you said about the 98 season.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, we basically practice all summer just without pads. I was like, whoa. I was like, and that wasn't, I don't think that was the case with Butch Jones, because you've got to want to win for everybody, and you've got to have that sort of bond to go out there and knock the hell out of each other in summer with no pads. But that was one of the things you said was key, that you guys were having full-scale practices without pads. When I tell you that, how optimistic does that make you about this group of Vols?
That makes me feel amazing, because you know what, man, it takes stuff like that to get it done. And that's the one thing, me and Dwayne talking about the things about watching film and, those type of things on the Celebrate 98 thing, which you guys need to go make sure you check out. Those things make a difference. They make a difference because you're already in the routine. Practice is simple at that point. It makes it so much easier. You learn all the things you need to learn. You teach your guys you need to teach. The guys who are starters can teach the freshmen how to do the certain things, and you're watching them. You're coaching yourselves. In order to win championships, in order to be good, you have to be able to coach yourself. I used to always say this, if I made a mistake in practice when I was young, all of the guys on the defense would be able to tell you what you did wrong. And there's no coach telling you that. So if I did it in practice, before I could even get to my coach, the guy who was in front of me was already telling me, hey, man, look, what did you see? Why did you do this? No, read this. This is what you're supposed to see. We're in cover what? You see what I'm saying? Like, the conversation would be just like as if a coach was coaching you, right? But it also shows you what talent you have on your squad. It also shows you what everybody can actually do. You know what I mean? That's kind of how we got that continuity between myself, Dwayne, and Dion, and also Steve Johnson. We knew that Steve was going to play the deep ball. He's not playing underneath. So if you're on Steve's side, you jumped underneath for him. If you know Dwayne Griffiths is going to jump that underneath route, you play over the top of him. There's a difference. You know that from doing those things in the summer in those 7-on-7 drills. And you also know the range of Dion, what he's going to do and what he's going to bait. Hey, this is the defense we're playing. Dion, check this out. We got cover one. I'm going to play outside man technique. Anything inside, you take, and I'll replace you. If it's a dig route, I'm going to replace you over the deep ball because it's a dig route. You jump it. That's an interception for you. See what I'm saying? Like that. Those are things that you learn in 7-on-7. Those things you learn when you got full scale practice and coaches are not there. So when coaches call plays in camp and during football season, and you shouldn't be making any mistakes at that point because you've already done it throughout spring and summer all year, and hand placement for linemen and those type of things. Hey man, you do those things anyway with pads on. So just doing those same things without it helps you get your steps in, helps you get your hand placements and all those type of things. It helps because it's routine at that point.
Fred's appearance brought to you in part by Andy Mason, realestate.com. He's my realtor, should be yours. Best prices and service in the biz. Andy Mason, realestate.com. He is phenomenal. Over 40 years of experience in his office. Andy Mason, realestate.com. Support our advertisers. That's why we're here. And I'm wondering when you start camp, because used to be they had the 2 days of freshmen only, which was kind of silly. And then they had like 4 days acclimation period. And they still do some of that, but it's not a hot topic like it was back then yet. Unfortunately, some players with the heat issues. But you still have to acclimate. So how quickly do you feel like in preseason camp, when these Vols are in day number 3, first day in full pads on Friday, how quickly do you feel like you're in the flow as far as getting better in practice day in and day out?
You should be able to hit the flow by the end of the week or by midweek. If you've already doing those things in the summertime that you say you've done and you're hydrating yourself correctly, that's the one thing we did all these things and we weren't really hydrating like we supposed to.
Why weren't you hydrated?
Hey, man.
By the way, ncaa.com, use the promo code HACK, and you can get free swag with any purchase. They deliver Tennessee cider most everywhere in the United States of America. Why weren't you hydrated, Fred?
Well, man, we waited up until the last day before we started camp to start actually hydrating. I mean,
so you were dehydrating up until camp.
We had the one last event where we had a cookout with everybody the week before, the Sunday before camp started, or whatever day camp starts. A few days before that, we would have a team cookout. And we just got it all out. That was it. And then you start hydrating.
Oh, gosh.
But I think that cookout was needed for one reason, though. Everybody came. Everybody showed up. We all hung out with each other one last good time, and then we go to work. That's it. We've had enough fun. The summer's over with. Let's go to work.
Good stuff, Caleb.
Fred, can you is there anything a coach can do to get players to be this close and make sure they do things during the summer that they should do and stay focused and all of that? Or do they have to just make sure they recruit the right people to establish the culture?
Well, you got to establish a culture within your locker room. Your locker room establishes a culture. The guys who are playing if you really want to win, you establish that culture. Hey, man, this is how it is. You play defensive back with us. When young guys came in, Willie Miles and Tad go, y'all follow our lead, or you won't be here long. Plain and simple. I mean, you won't be here long. We'll make sure you're gone. Hey, coach, he ain't cutting it. He got to go.
First year, I want Ray off the team.
Right.